guys, it's me. Welcome to the show. Today on the show, the president busts Beto's balls, and the Green New Deal is exposed as a bad high school term paper.
Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Here is Rob Carson. Hello, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. And I apologize for not being as frequently on the web as I would like to be. Right now, schedule kind of prohibits it. And I'm doing a couple of shows now. This one, which is about politics and pop culture. And then another one that I have on a radio station on the web called Spoony.com, SPOONY.com. It's about food. About food and wine and, beer and cigars and all that stuff. Yeah, so you ought to check that out as well. Joining their lineup this week, actually. Before we get into two rival rallies yesterday in El Paso, Texas, I just want to tell you, right there, tpublic.com, Conservatees. Those are my T-shirts and my swag line. I work with a guy named Sam Cangelosi, and right now we've got about 80 designs up there. There's an AOC design. There's a Hillary in 20 Never. There's an Elizabeth Warren campaign shirt as well, making fun of her. All that stuff. This is lighthearted stuff, but it still packs a punch. It still has a powerful message. So if you'd order something, that would be huge. Right? Valentine's Day is Thursday. Maybe. All right. So last night in El Paso, Beto O'Rourke and Donald Trump held rallies. Donald Trump's rally was held indoors in a venue that they could not accommodate everybody. The president, I believe, said almost 70,000 people signed up. They were only able to allow about 10,000 people inside. Beto O'Rourke had maybe a couple thousand people at his rally. And, Beto O'Rourke is the new savior of the Democrat Party, I guess. No telling why he is, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, supposedly the savior of the Democrat Party, 29 years old, completely bat-crap crazy, by the way. Completely bat-crap crazy and dangerously stupid. And dangerously ignorant of history. We'll get into her new Green Deal in a second because I have it here. And I got to tell you, the president made fun of it last night. I'll share his thoughts. And he had exactly my thought about it, that it was like a bad high school term paper. But that's insulting to high school students. Because this piece of, it reads like somebody who had an assignment due tomorrow that they should have started a week ago. It's written very sophomorically, and it's also absolutely, positively not possible. Get rid of air travel. Are you out of your mind? And that's what Mao wanted to do. Go back into the fields and work. Enrich the government. But this is the left. This is the left, and I'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. But last night, the president had a lot of people at his rally. Beto O'Rourke showed up, and despite the fact I had heard 60 left-leaning organizations had got the word out for his rally. Only a couple thousand people showed up to his. Almost 70,000 showed up for Trump, but that didn't stop last night on MSNBC. Nicole Wallace and others, not only dissing the president's new approval rating since his State of the Union address, which, by the way, went to 52%. It resonated very well. But also just basically saying, what happens if Beto O'Rourke's crowd is bigger?
Likely voters, right? Because 538 has him as 40.4% or something.
Right. Most people don't take Rasmussen seriously, though.
I think it's the only...
You don't take Rasmussen seriously. Because it doesn't reflect all of the other leftist polls that you subscribe to.
Poll he usually shares
right.
About his approval rating. But, he doesn't listen to the advice of people like Mitch McConnell, who reportedly before the shutdown said this is a bad idea, we should not shut the government down.
Right. And what happened to the president's approval rating?
Sort of went away because he realized the president didn't respect his opinion.
And he realized, by the way, from the government shutdown, that the government shutdown did not impact the private sector in an iota. Did not impact the private sector whatsoever. In fact, more jobs, almost twice as many jobs were created last month than they even anticipated. The government shutdown did nothing to the economy.
I mean,
in a negative fashion.
the president wants to do what he wants to do, and he wants Congress to either come to the negotiating table, not willing to negotiate, but willing to capitulate to whatever he's asking
Which they
for.
won't do.
What if Beto gets a bigger crowd? That seems like...
Negotiation is capitulating. You want to talk about who's capitulating, right? Nancy Pelosi has not moved a bit to work with the president. The president has laid out several alternatives for the Democrat Party, and they have done nothing. So let's not talk about capitulating here.
See, yeah.
What?
Well, that's what I'm wondering here. You know, who did the advanced planning for this? Who said, go to El Paso, Texas, where you are overwhelmingly unpopular, where you've already been caught lying about the crime numbers, and where Beto O'Rourke might actually have a counter. I mean, the split screen is going to be kind of a first for Donald Trump. If he actually gets a bigger crowd, well, that of course.
He got a massively bigger crowd. Hundreds of % more people showed up for Donald Trump's rally last night. There was no comparison whatsoever. It was an absolute joke that Beto O'Rourke showed up, couldn't sell his merch, his Beto in 2020 T-shirts, and at best a couple thousand people showed up. Meanwhile, 5 times as many people had to be turned away at the Trump rally because they couldn't fit in the building.
Is the coin of the realm in Trump land
Right.
for all of this. But yeah, I mean, this is.
By the way, and I had heard my buddy Chris Plant talking about this earlier today on his show. If you look at the Mexico side of the border in El Paso versus El Paso, the Mexico side is hell on earth. It is hell on earth. Would you want your kids to go on spring break across the border from El Paso? Most probably no. But El Paso has a great crime rate. And one of the reasons is there's a wall. The walls always work, by the way. A little bit more from this dim-witted panel.
This is what Donald Trump cares about, and this makes me think that he may be edging toward an emergency order, since he doesn't appear to be at all interested in the congressional in the congressional negotiations.
The congressional investigation. That was a little slip.
At all, which is kind of odd because he's really kind of caved on this wall already. Mm-hmm. He's not talking about a concrete wall. He's not talking about sea to shining sea.
Or Mexico paying for it.
Or he's not talking about any of those things. In fact, you could give him, I think I said this a couple of weeks.
I haven't detected him giving up on the wall. At his speech last night, he brought up the wall. We're going to finish the wall. We're going to finish the wall. Here is Donald Trump talking about Beto O'Rourke's rally.
Now, we're delighted, and I'm delighted, to be joined this evening by the Texas leaders. You have great leaders, great people, great help to me, that are at the forefront of this incredible American revolution. You know, there's never been anything like this in the history of our country. We have to understand that. There's never been. If you would say, as an example, that tonight 69,000 people signed up to be here. Now, the arena holds 8,000. And thank you, Fire Department. They got in about 10. Thank you, Fire Department. Appreciate it. But if you want to really see something, go outside. Tens of thousands of people are watching screens outside. And we were all challenged by a young man who lost an election to Ted Cruz. And then
for a man being so wildly unpopular in El Paso, to have 70,000 people show up, I gotta say that would probably be a pretty substantial portion of El Paso's population.
They said, you know what? Hey, you're supposed to win in order to run. By the way, I'm 1 and 1. I'm 1 for 1. Think of it. We had one election, we won. Now we're going to be 2 for 0, and everything's going to be perfect. But a young man who's got very little going for himself, except he's got a great first name. challenged us. So we have, let's say, 35,000 people tonight, and he has 200 people, 300 people. Not too good.
Not too good. Not too good. Well, no, yeah. And I didn't see all of Beto's address last night. I was at work pretty late. But this guy is, and listen, Donald Trump is obviously not the best spoken person in the world. But he does know how to communicate with people. He does know how to connect with people. He does. With his followers, yeah. With his voters, his supporters, yeah. Same could be said for Barack Obama. Give him credit. He could connect with people, and he did. Beto O'Rourke, I just thought looked like a fish out of water. I thought he looked like a freshman, to be quite honest.
We stand for America, and we stand against walls.
What do you stand against walls? Like you lean up against them? Is that it? We stand against walls? Are you homeless? Are you panhandling? Why are you standing against the wall?
We know that there is no bargain in which we can sacrifice some of our humanity to gain a little more security. We know that we deserve and will lose both of them if we do. We stand for the best traditions and values of this country.
Well, really? You've got Democrats in states around the country who want to legalize late-term abortion, even post-birth abortion. When has the Democrat Party ever been on the side of humanity? I mean, seriously, do you think the Democrat Party has the moral high ground here? Where drugs are being sneaked across our border, where illegals are streaming in, where MS-13 gang members are coming through, and the Democrat Party, for the sake of votes and because they hate Donald Trump so badly, they're willing to put you and I at risk, and they've got the moral high ground? Are you out of your nut?
For our fellow humanity and who we are when we are at our best, and that's El Paso, Texas. I'm glad the country's here to see us.
The country's here to see us. Was the country there? Did you see the country? I mean, I don't think that this rally got a whole lot of coverage. I don't think the country was there to see. He looked honestly, he looked like a bad TED Talk. Not even a good TED Talk. That wouldn't even be a TED Talk. It's that bad. I've seen a couple TED Talks. I went to a couple TED Talks. It can be pretty interesting, and they can be really boring too sometimes. That's not even it wouldn't even qualify to be a TED Talk. And they had literally hundreds of people and dozens of organizations trying to get people to come into this rally. And it was a fart in the wind, for lack of a better analogy. Here is Donald Trump talking about the new Green Deal. We're going to get into the new Green Deal that was unveiled last week and then taken off of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez website because it's so effing stupid. Here is Donald Trump talking about it in El Paso.
We're doing now. We are a hot, hot country. Last week, they introduced a massive government takeover that would destroy our incredible economic gains. They introduced the so-called Green New Deal.
Now, I've always said this about the Democrat Party. They are an a party without ideas. Okay? They went back to the 1930s to resurrect a Green New Deal, which I was reading about this morning. The New Deal, when FDR was elected, unemployment was 25%. It came down to 14%. World War II happened, and by the time he left office, it was back up to 19%. So essentially, while there were minor gains in the unemployment numbers because they put so many people in government jobs for a while, temporary, not even a solution, but it appears that may have delayed the entire recovery for more than a decade. After World War II, economy went through the ceiling. So, the Green New Deal. And this is what I've always said. Here's what the Democrat playbook for the economy is. Government spending, which is like the WPA, which was part of the New Deal, which delayed the Depression, okay? Raising the minimum wage, and what is the operative word in that phrase? Minimum. High regulation, high taxes. And we're surprised when an economic boom that's happening right now is happening. I'm not.
It sounds like a high school term paper that got a low mark.
I wouldn't even go so far as to say it was up to the standards of your average high school sophomore.
It would shut down American energy, which I don't think the people in Texas are going to be happy with that. It would shut down a little thing called air travel.
Yeah. I know.
How do you take a train to Europe? You know, this crazy senator from Hawaii, they said, do you like it? Yes, I like it very much. Oh, really? How are we getting to Hawaii on a train? She didn't think about that one, but she's thinking about it. She'll figure it out.
I doubt it.
They want to take away your car, reduce the value of your home,
Yes.
and put millions of Americans out of work, spend $100 trillion, which, by the way, there's no such thing as $100 trillion. You have to spend $100 trillion. And remember this, no other country except us is going to do it. That's a little problem.
Yeah, there you go. Because this has always been about lowering our boat, not raising the boats of other countries. It's never been about that. It's about a deep-seated resentment of the United States as the greatest engine of economic and individual freedom in the history of mankind. It's about a deep-seated resentment and hate by ignorant people who are ignorant with regard to history. I had a guy the other day, and he turns out he was pulling my chain at work because they know that my coworkers know that I do a talk show, and I also have written comedy for Mr. Limbaugh for a number of years. And so he's talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and he's like, she's the future of the Democrat Party. This is where the country needs to go. I said, yeah, we need to go in the direction of Venezuela. And he, of course, went with the academic mental masturbation that you see in college break rooms with professors saying that, well, you know, he just didn't do it right. Hugo Chavez, he just didn't do it right. You know, communism, and this is a high school argument, because I remember kids when I was in high school saying, you know, communism really is the ideal form of government. It's just never been done right. Well, when doing it wrong results in the deaths of 100 million people, I'd say the business model needs to be tossed. Not fixed, not an attempted fix. I'd say you effing get rid of it.
While the world's real polluters, like China, would get many of our companies and factories, they just move into China, move into other parts of the world. That's the way the system works. Not going to happen, folks. Don't worry. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Are we so void of common sense? Not we, you and me. But are some people so void of common sense that they believe that fossil fuels need to go away within a decade, even though there's no replacement? People believe that you should get rid of airplanes. Do you realize? I mean, it's common sense. Let's see. Do we want to spend a month crossing the Atlantic Ocean to go to Europe, or do we want to spend 6 hours? I don't think I need to elaborate on the fact that air travel, which has come about in the last 100-some years, has made the world smaller, created wealth beyond belief for some. I don't think I need to defend air travel, right? Right? Wouldn't you rather fly in a tube, pressurized tube, while drinking, whatever, going 500 miles an hour across the country to get from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles in 5 hours, 5.5 hours going west, 5 hours coming back? Or would you rather go back to the Conestoga wagon where the trip from Washington, D.C. To California would take 3 months and about half of your party would die of typhoid? That's apparently what the Democrat Party wants. That's what Mao wanted. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her ilk, even though she's only been in Washington for a month, she already knows that this wouldn't impact her. Just the little people. Just the little people. Meanwhile, the rich will still fly in to the tune of 1,800 jets into Davos for their annual climate change meeting, which inevitably, almost every time these happen, colder than normal temperatures occur, snowstorms and whatnot. But this is going to affect the proletariat. It will only impact the bourgeois, and the bourgeois used to be. I have a mantra about the Democrat Party. You drive in crappy little dangerous cars. I drive in a motorcade of large SUVs. You fly in coach. I fly in a private jet. I live in a sprawling mansion that uses 10 times the electricity to run than the average house. You put poison light bulbs in your house. That's what it's all about. That's what Donald Trump's election is all about. That's what it was all about. It was about two classes of people, one being left behind. 12 of the top 20 richest counties in America surround Washington, D.C. That's what it was all about. That's what it's all about. Okay. Oh, here is the announcement. I have to show the announcement of the Green Deal by Ocasio-Cortez, not only because she looks like an idiot, but that so many actually bought into this. And these are, I'm assuming, mature adults who've been on the planet longer than she has. Did they not read this? Or are they just so drunk with the idea of a 29-year-old socialist/communist who's thrown softballs by all the major media? It's a love fest for her everywhere she goes. She's a superstar for doing nothing. Here she is announcing the Green New Deal, which, by the way, disappeared from her website the very next day because everybody, even those on the, not on the left, but even a lot of Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi, looked at it and said, oh, really? This is an embarrassment.
Now, I want to introduce to you my phenomenal partner on this resolution, the great Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
How is she great? How is she great? 8 months ago, she was waiting tables. I'm not saying that people can't be great waiting tables, but what had she done otherwise?
Climate change and our environmental challenges are one of the biggest existential threats to our way of life.
I really doubt she knows even what existential means.
Not just as a nation, but as a world.
Yeah, unfortunately, the world's not going to follow us into this descent into idiocy.
And in order for us to combat that threat, we must be as ambitious and innovative in our solution as possible.
Innovative. Anytime innovation is involved, the government can't be involved.
So what we are doing today and in introducing these resolutions here today is that it's not a bill. It is a resolution. And what this resolution is doing is
people would follow her like lemmings. My God.
Saying this is our first step. Our first step is to define the problem and define the scope of the solution.
This guy back here, I mean, the older guy there kind of has a concerned look on his face. And the guy to his immediate, your left, I guess, he looks a little concerned. Meanwhile, the old doofus who introduced her is, yes. She is a millennial. We need to listen to the future of our country.
Today is also the day that we choose to assert ourselves as a global leader in transitioning to
from modernity to the Middle Ages.
100% renewable energy and charting that path. that means that we are not going to peg ourselves by the lowest, by the lowest.
We are not going to peg ourselves by the lowest peg ourselves by the, yes,
standards of other nations.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that we're going to say, what about them? They're not doing it. What about them? They're not doing it. Why?
Sounds like, did you ever run for office when you were in high school or elementary school? That's what the kinds of a stump speech for class president.
Why should we? We should do it because we should lead. This is an investment. For every $1 that we spend on infrastructure, we get a return on that investment.
Yes.
For every $1 that we spend on tax cuts, we get less than $1 back. And so this is about making.
You are high. You are an ignoramus. Every time taxes are cut, revenues to the government increase. We've seen that. Right now, all-time high revenue into the government. Thank you, Donald Trump and his tax cuts. You are wrong. You are high. You are wrong about infrastructure spending as well.
Making smart investments, and this is about making investments that actually.
When is investing in the government ever smart?
Generate returns and not lying about the fact that they generate returns. They actually generate returns.
And one thing we're going to fight for is to make sure that all the renewables, all electric vehicles, that they're getting the same tax rates that the fossil fuel industry has received for the last 100 years. That's a fight worth having. And they might consider that to be a tax increase. But that is something that we are going to try to remove from the tax rolls of our country.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Daily Mail. Wow. Here's Nancy Pelosi talking about the Green New Deal, by the way. Hold on.
To follow up, is the Green New Deal proposal a useful baseline?
I haven't, quite frankly, I haven't seen it, but I do know that it's enthusiastic, and we welcome all the enthusiasms that are out there, and lots of friends.
We welcome all the enthusiasms that are out there? Wait, what?
Is the Green New Deal proposal a useful baseline?
I haven't, quite frankly, I haven't seen it, but I do know that it's enthusiastic, and we welcome all the enthusiasms that are out there.
I didn't know that could be plural. I didn't know that enthusiasm could be plural, but I guess it is.
Lots of friends to see, so my apologies for running late. I'll pass that time. So time is of the essence. We welcome the enthusiasm that is there.
The enthusiasms, all of them.
The Green New Deal points out.
I had one of the biggest enthusiasms of my life yesterday.
The fact that the public is much more aware.
I thought I was going to get a job offer.
Of the challenge
that you can do multiple enthusiasms. You are
that we face, and that is a good thing because the public sentiment will help us pass the most bold common denominator, the bold initiatives with the interest in, again, saving the planet while we create jobs, protect the health of our children, and pass the planet on in a very serious way. I'm very excited about it all.
Pass the planet on in a very serious way, okay? Pass the planet on.
I welcome the Green New Deal and any other proposals that people have out there.
There you go. Oh, we got some more video from the Daily Mail there, you see. All right, let's read a little bit of this thing, shall we? We will begin work immediately on the Green New Deal bills to put the nuts and bolts on the plan described in this resolution, this junior high term paper. I don't even think it's not even a term paper because term papers are a bigger assignment. This is like a class assignment for Tuesday. This is a massive transformation of our society with clear goals and a timeline. 10-year plan to mobilize every aspect of American society at a scale not seen since World War II to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions and create economic prosperity. That's an oxymoron. Move America to 100% clean and renewable energy, create millions of family-supporting wage union jobs. Union jobs means, of course, support of the Democrat Party. Build on FDR's second Bill of Rights by guaranteeing a job with a family-sustaining wage, family and medical leave, vacations, and retirement security. High-quality health care, safe, affordable, adequate housing, economic environment free of monopolies. What the hell is this? Americans love a challenge. This is our moonshot. This is our moonshot. If Eisenhower wanted to build the interstate highway system today, people would ask how he'd pay for it. When FDR called on America to build 185 planes to fight World War II, every business leader, CEO, and general laughed at him. At the time, the U.S. has produced 3,000 planes in the last year. Blah, 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 blah. This is a massive investment in our economy and society. How in our economy and our society? No, it's a massive investment in our government. We invested 50 to 70% of GDP into our economy during World War II and created the greatest middle class the U.S. has ever seen. No. 92% of Democrats and 64% of Republicans support the Green New Deal. No, that's bullcrap. Trying to look for some real stupid things here. Why 100% clean and renewable energy is not just 100% renewable? Are you saying we won't have transportation off fossil fuels? That's how it's written. We won't have transportation off fossil fuels. Yes, we are calling for a full transition off fossil fuels and zero greenhouse gases. Anyone who has read the resolution sees that we spell this out through a plan that calls for eliminating greenhouse gas emissions for every sector of the economy, which is impossible and stupid. Simply banning fossil fuels immediately won't build the new economy to replace it. This plan to build the new economy, it spells out how we do it technically. No, it doesn't really. Hold on. This is, it gets better. It gets better. Does this include a carbon tax? Of course it does. And not just one, but lots of them. Green New Deal is a massive investment in the production of renewable energy industries and infrastructure. We cannot simply tax gas and expect workers to figure out another way to get to work unless we've created a better, more affordable options. Like what? Like what? Does it include cap and trade? Cap and trade assumes the existing market will solve this problem for us, and that's simply not true. While cap and trade may be a part of the larger Green New Deal to mobilize our economy, any cap and trade legislation will pale by comparison to the size of the mobilization and must recognize that existing legislation, blah, 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 blah. Green New Deal makes new fossil fuel infrastructure or nuclear plants unnecessary. And how is that possible? Because we do not have a place. We do not have anything in place to replace those. In place to replace. Yeah, I said it. How will you pay for it? The same way we paid for the New Deal. The same way we paid for World War II and all our current wars. The Federal Reserve can extend credit to power these projects and investments, and new public banks can be created to extend credit. Oh, this is just great. There's also space for the government to take an equity stake in projects to get a return on the investment. Assuming there will be a return on the investment. Would business put money behind this? Would they invest money expecting to get money back? No, but the government doesn't have to worry about that, do they? The level of investment required is massive. Even if every billionaire and company came together and were willing to pour out all the resources at the disposal of this investment, the aggregate value of the investment they could make would not be sufficient. Oh, that's really funny. This is great. Simply put, we just need to stop doing things that we are doing. This is what it says. This is what it says. This is supposed to be written by adults on Capitol Hill, the leaders of our country. Simply put, we don't need to just stop doing some things we are doing. We also need to start doing new things like overhauling whole industries or retrofitting all buildings to be energy efficient. Every building. There are hundreds of millions of buildings in this country, by the way, and I live in one. It's a house, but it's a building. What else here? Okay, once again, we're not saying that there isn't a role in the private sector for investments. We're just saying that the level of government investment required will need every actor to pitch in, and that the government is best placed to be the prime driver. All right, let me see here. Net zero greenhouse gas emissions through a fair and just transition for all communities and workers create millions of high-wage jobs that ensure prosperity and economic security for all. Has the government ever been able to do that? It's suddenly just going to be. We're going to create millions of high-wage jobs. How? Are you going to build something and sell it? Are you going to create a product and bring it to market? How are you going to do that? invest in infrastructure and industry to sustainably meet the challenges of the 21st century. Democrats have been talking about this for decades, and it never gets done. $787 billion of stimulus, for instance, for projects that weren't shovel-ready under Barack Obama. This is where it gets a little bit weird and social justice-y, I think. Here, hold on. Build infrastructure to create resiliency against climate-related disasters. Repair and upgrade U.S. infrastructure. $4.6 trillion at a minimum, it says here, from the Department of pulling numbers out of your ass. Upgrade or replace every building in the U.S. for state-of-the-art energy efficiency. Work with farmers and ranchers to create a sustainable pollution and greenhouse gas-free food system that ensures universal access to healthy food and expands independent family farming. Restoring our natural ecosystems, restore all our damaged and threatened ecosystems. Sure, okay. Social and economic justice and security through 15 requirements. I'm not going to do them all because they're too stupid. Provide job training and education to all. Isn't it? The Democrats are always providing job training, right? There's always job training. Guarantee a job with family-sustaining wages. Protect the right of all workers to unionize and organize. Let's see here. Obtain free, prior, and informed consent of indigenous peoples. Strengthen and enforce labor, workplace, health and safety, anti-discrimination, and wage and hour standards. And provide high-quality health care, housing, economic security, and clean air, clean water, healthy food, and nature to all. Yeah, this is an embarrassment. I don't think I need to elaborate. This is an embarrassment. But it didn't stop Michael Mann from saying it was really an audacious plan, and what we need is audacity.
Well, it's an audacious plan, but we need some audacity. What we are talking about here is the greatest threat that we face as a civilization. Climate change, as you mentioned.
I thought it was global warming.
If you just poll the American people and you ask them, how much do you care about climate change, it might not rank up there in the...
Because we don't believe it, because it's a load of crap. It's a political football.
The top 5 issues, but it turns out that all of the things that do turn up...
How'd you get to work today, Junior?
In the top 5
ride your bike?
Concerns, when it comes to national security, our economy, our health, all of those things are impacted by climate change. And I think that Americans are beginning to connect the dots. They're realizing that...
I predict the climate is going to change in the next month and a half. Because it's going to be spring.
Climate change really is unprecedented heat waves and wildfires.
Which have always happened throughout history. Wildfires are a natural phenomena, but unfortunately, we live in places that wildfires happen. It's a natural phenomena. The last California wildfire was caused by California, Pacific Gas and Electric, and some bad lines.
And superstorms.
Which aren't happening. We had the lowest number of hurricanes in a century, just the last 10 years.
They're having a very damaging impact on us now.
Every time they say this, the storms are going to get worse, and then the Midwest has its quietest tornadic activity in a century.
And the cost of inaction, of not doing something about the problem, is already far greater than the cost of taking action. And what this proposal does is to try to ensure that we do take the actions necessary to avert catastrophic additional warming of the planet.
And if we're the only country doing this, it won't mean D-word for Richard. Wow. Honestly, wow. Fortunately, at this point, there's still enough common sense out there to stop this legislation from ever happening. I'm not saying that's not coming. Everybody's looking for the moment that Donald Trump's over. It was the Access Hollywood tape. It was this. It was Stormy Daniels. It was the Russia investigation. Whatever. Everybody's looking for that moment that Donald Trump's career is over. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because she has the help of slavish media that loves her for whatever reason. Because she's 29 and she's cute and she got elected and she beat an old white guy in an election. There you go. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. And she's a socialist. But she's coming a little hot. And I'm not talking about her looks. I'm talking about she's coming a little bit hot. And she's brought with her a youthful arrogance, and we maybe all have had that to some degree. But she's brought with her a youthful arrogance, an attitude that move aside. The new generation is here, and that's not going to fly over very well with people like Nancy Pelosi. And she stepped in it on this one. And there will be people who continue to support her and not laugh her out of Washington, which is what everybody should do. She's already got a potential challenger, a Republican in her district. Not that matters. He's a gay guy. Who cares? That was the big thing. He's a gay guy. Wow, gay Republican. Ooh, that never happens. So we'll see if her political tenure is short-lived. If she keeps doing things like this, I'm going to say yeah, because she made herself look like a complete moron. Unfortunately, there are a lot of other morons out there. There are plenty of morons out there who will, like the doofus who was in the presser, standing there by the podium. There are still plenty of morons out there to support her, despite the stupidity and ignorance of her proposals. So, time for me to go. Yeah. Hey, if you get a chance to order, tpublic.com, look for Conservatees, about 80 designs of really cool stuff, including Hillary in 20 Never. How cool would that be, wearing that? Wear that T-shirt to the gym? Oh, you're going to get a rise out of people. Yeah. Guys, I want to thank you for watching. Make sure to check out spoony.com, SPOONY.com, also Spreely.com. That is an alternative to Facebook that I am on as well, SPREELY, freedom of expression, no shadow banning for your political views. In the meantime, God bless, and I'll see you again real soon.
To the Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now.